Hello. Welcome back to Mink Talks You to Sleep for a certain amount of time. I'm not sure how long this is going to go. Um, this time I brought a microphone, so hopefully that is a lot better than the sort of echoey kind of mic that I had before. Um, If you're watching at this point, this is video 3 in the playlist. We are about nearly an hour in. If you're not asleep by now, you're really sticking it out. But luckily for you, you get my sound quality. The other videos will stay up. I might make a new playlist with the new microphone. Um, just because I think this one will be more soothing to listen to. Um, but for now, um, I'm just going to talk you to sleep for some amount of minutes. I'm not sure yet. Depends on when I get tired. Um, you know, I've been thinking a lot about my last few videos. A couple people have told me that it has helped them go to sleep, and that's a good thing. I really appreciate that kind of feedback. Um, and the hardest part about doing these is finding things to talk about for some amount of time. Um, I don't really say a whole lot in real life. Um, I'm I think I've said it before in previous videos, but I'm a rather quiet person. Um, I don't I don't say a lot unless I think there's something to be said. Um, and I think that's a wise thing to do. Um, I like to think very carefully about the things that I say. Because I don't want to make any sort of mistakes in what I say. And a lot of people admire that in me. And I think it's a good trait to have. But enough about that. When we try to find things to talk about, I feel like we often cling to environmental objects. Like, I don't know. Um, like that box over there. You can't see it. I'm not going to turn the camera around, but there is a box over there. It's got one flap down, one flap up. Sure you can see it, or I'm sure you can imagine it. I mean, it's an interesting shape of a box. I could imagine drawing it on a drawing pad. All the dimensions of it. How did they ever think to call the sides of a cube the dimensions of a cube? What does dimension even mean, you know? When we first heard the word, it sounded like a sci-fi thing, like going into another dimension meant going into some other place. But dimensions in mathematics just mean sides. Just plain old sides. How did they ever, I wonder which one came first. Probably the mathematics one. But then, why did they call that a dimension in sci-fi terms? See how I just made up a conversation out of just that simple box? It's crazy. And you can do it with any kind of object. Like, trying to find something that's on the screen. These windows. When do you think they were built? When do you think this house was built? I would like to imagine sometime in the later 1900s, maybe to narrow it down, 1990, in the 90s maybe. Imagine how many families these windows saw. All the experiences that have been in this house. And these windows are a part of all of them. Or at least the ones that took place in this house, in this very room. This room that I'm in is called the living room. Isn't it strange how, like, we have a room just designated for just existing? You know, we have all sorts of different rooms in a house. You have the bedroom, that makes sense. It's the one where the beds are. We have the kitchen, that makes sense. That's where all the kitchen appliances are, and that's where we make our food. Then we have some people have a playroom. There you go, there's a room where you play. But then there's the living room. And what do you do in a living room? You just live. As you do. It's such a bland phrase for a room I guess we couldn't think of a name for. We couldn't call it the resting room because that's what we call bathrooms. And why do we call them restrooms? You know, what about a bathroom makes you want to rest? Some people rest in the tub. That's not very sanitary. But I mean, some people rest on the toilet too. But you know, you don't go into a restroom to rest. You go into a bedroom to rest. So why aren't the bedrooms called restrooms, you know? It's strange the way that we name things. Like another example, grapes. You know, we have purple grapes. Does make sense? They're purple. We have red grapes. Some grapes are red, and then we have white grapes, and you would expect those grapes to be white, but they're actually green. Why is that? Is it because of the juice? Is the juice white? Maybe. I'm not really all that familiar with grapes. I wonder how long this has been going so far. If you're still listening to this point, let me know in the comments some sort of strange names that you think would fit in. Have I ever talked about the X? Twitter recently changed their logo to an X, and I always wondered what the fascination with the X actually is. Is it the shape? It's just, I feel that the X is the most simplistic of all of the letters. You know, we have the W, that's two pointers, or I guess 4 lines. We have the A, that's a curve and a line, and the B, that's a longer line and a curve. The C is just a curve. But then the X is just two lines intersecting. Is it the fact that there are no other letters in the alphabet that have the sort of formula that X has? But then there's Q, and that's a line intersecting with a curve. But I guess there aren't many letters like X. And another thing about the X is that it's non-essential. We don't really need it for a whole lot of words. Only words that end in a kus sound, like box or fox. But even then, we could just use KS for most of them, like dreadlocks or clocks. We don't spell clocks with an X, do we? Even though it rhymes with box, we spell it with a K and an S. English is a very funny language. Like, trying to think of a example. Like SC. S and C oftentimes make the same sound. Like cell, for example, is spelled with a C, but it makes an S sound. And cell with an S makes a S sound as well. So when you put them together, they both make a S sound, like science. But then there's a word like scab, which is spelled with an S and a C. But you don't say sab, you say scab. And an easy fix for that would just be to put a K in there. SKAB, scab. It's just like the box thing again. We call Skittles Skittles. We don't call them Siddles. But no, some words, the S and the C are silent, and some words they aren't, and it doesn't really make sense why. I mean, I guess I'm not a phoneticist or etymologist or whatever you'd call it. So I don't really kind of talking out my butt here, but why is it that certain words, spelled with a S and a C, not have both of those letters silent? Like science or scent. Isn't it? I think it's also kind of cool how, we have 3 different words that spell scent. We have SCENT, and that means like an aroma. We have scent with CENT, that's a word for currency. And then we have scent, SCNT, which means to give something over. You sent something. Are there any other words like that where there's 3 ways to make the same kind of sound? Usually there's only 2. What do they call it? Do they call it a homonym? Is that what it's called? When 3 words sound the same but are spelled differently? Or is it a heteronym? I don't know. Again, I'm just a guy with a bunch of questions. Well, to move on from that conversation, um, another thing I've been thinking about is companionship. I think we as humans are a very companion necessary species. We um, we don't like being alone, not for long anyway, because loneliness drives us mad. And biologically, psychologically, all we want is for someone to care for us, someone to do something with, and of course, someone to mate with, as that is our biological need in this universe. We need to, we live, we create offspring, then we die. And then those offspring create more offspring. And for that, we need a companion. But we also look for, and I think that this is what makes our species unique, we look for non mating companions. People we don't want to have sex with, to just hang around and, have a relationship with. I don't know of any other animal species, or of many. I know there are definitely some that have friends. I feel like for a lot of animals, it's all about the mating process and then raising a family. But for humans, we work together in tribes and groups. We like to think the same too. We want to have relationships with people that have compatible beliefs and compatible goals. And, I guess it sucks when companions drift apart or when a companion isn't there for you. And I think about all the times that's happened in my life where I've built a companionship and it didn't last. And we drifted apart. I'm sure you listening to this right now have probably had a companionship yourself that you've lost. Not to get heavy on you, but, in a way, it hurts almost as much as losing a soulmate. And it's a strange thing to have comparable pain to. But I guess it's not that strange. As a person, it's not that strange to us. Anyway. Losing a friend is terrible. Whether it's by their own choice or your own choice or them leaving or dying. It's the worst thing. One of our earliest human things that we did as a species is we buried our dead. And again, I can't think of any other species that does that for people that are another person of their species that they've lost. Do dogs bury their dead? Do cats bury their dead? Maybe, but I've personally never heard of anything like that. I know dogs bury certain objects that they hold a attachment to. But I think that that fact on its own is very special. That we're a very companion necessary species. Or not necessary. I mean, you don't need a companion in life. But we're a very we love having friends, I guess. I can't think of the word for it. And I think that's really special. You know, and we often get disappointed by our friends as well. Like when we can't do stuff for them, or when they can't do stuff for us, or when their loyalty shifts, or when they can't trust us, or when they lie to us, or when you lie to them, or you can't trust them. I think knowing that we as a species hold friends to a very high standard, or having friendships to a very high standard, I think we should appreciate the time that we have with them while they're still our friend, while they're still there. I think we should learn to appreciate a lot of the small things in life, like some of the big things too, like nature. This is gonna sound really boomerish of me, but I don't think that we appreciate nature as much as we do, or as much as we did. In some ways, I think we appreciate it more in the sense that there are more outlets to talk about nature and to share nature across the world. With Twitter, you can find pictures of places around the world that you couldn't otherwise see from or without Twitter or without the internet. Like, I could go on Google right now and I can search up a picture of Kazakhstan, and I can admire the steppes and the hills and the flowers that they have. But is seeing that really a substitute for appreciating it in real life? And I think in some ways, no. But of course, seeing a picture in real life or seeing a picture on the internet doesn't replace seeing it in real life. It's not like if I see enough pictures of Kazakhstan, I'll never go to Kazakhstan. It might motivate me to go to Kazakhstan if I'm actually impressed by those pictures. But, what am I trying to say? It does sort of detach us from nature, like a window. We're only looking through the window at things that we could go see in real life. And, we spend so much time taking pictures of the things that we see that we never, put the camera down and appreciate them on their own. We just, I feel like there's a big difference between seeing a pretty flower and going, oh, that's a very pretty flower. I'm sure it'll make somebody else happy. And taking a picture of that flower the minute that you see it. Anyway, in some ways, this is kind of a disconnect because I can only talk into the void. I can't talk to you personally. And that troubles me a little bit. I wish that I could connect with my audience in these sorts of videos. I wish I could talk to you or talk to you about your problems, about your plans, or the things you care about in life. But I can't. I can only talk about the things I care about, or even the things that I don't care about. I'll let you in on a little secret. I don't care about half the things I'm saying right now. I'm just saying them in the hopes that it'll bore you enough to go to sleep. Just the truth. And I'm sure by this point, you are already asleep. And in which case, I've done a good job. But if you have made it this far, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I know a shameless plug in the middle or near end of this video is, kind of cliched, but I really would appreciate any sort of support. The channel has been sort of stagnant up until now. I've started to post shorts where I sit in this chair and say the same bullshit, but in a shorter format. And hopefully I can grow this channel even more from that. And hopefully I can bore as many people as I can to sleep. Including myself. Though I don't know if I could ever watch these videos to sleep. I mean, I don't like the sound of my voice. I think it sounds too kiddish. I don't sound like a 20-year-old man. I sound like a 15-year-old, I guess. That always bothers me. I wish I had a deeper voice. But, I guess that's up to testosterone. Right? Testosterone lowers your vocal cords. Estrogen heightens them. I bet if I started taking testosterone, it'd probably get lower. But I feel like it still sound a bit kiddish. Even when I, artificially lower it. I don't know. I still don't like it. I noticed there are sort of vocal tones in my voice as well. I feel like we all have different sorts of tones for how we're feeling. If we're excited or just, having a good time. Our voice is a bit higher if we're talking about something mundane, or we're deep into a subject. We'll talk a bit like I'm talking right now. And I notice I really like it when people notice that kind of inflection. A lot of my friends, I say I'm considered, the jokester of the group. But a lot of people don't know when I'm joking. And I feel like they would know if they listened to the sound of my voice. Because, when I'm joking, I smile, I get a little jittery, and my voice is a lot higher. It's like, yeah, Captain Planet's gay, or something like that. But, when I'm in deep in a subject, kind of like this, my voice gets a lot lower, and it's a lot more focused, and I'm not jittering as much. I feel like hand gestures also, we never focus on our own hand gestures, but they can also convey a lot about. Jesus, I'm getting tired. I think I might end this part here, but I'll carry this on in the next part. Thank you for listening. Hopefully, by this point, you are asleep. This has been going on for I don't know how long. I actually can't look at the runtime. But, hopefully you're asleep, and hopefully this worked. I will see you in the next video, maybe, if you're still not asleep. And stay tuned.